Here we are then, ladies and gentlemen, the final chapter. Our final season of F1 22 My Team is about to get underway, and of course today we return with pre-season testing from the Sakir International Circuit. There are some big announcements as we come into the new season, not only from the driver lineups, but also with the format as well. For this final season of F1 My Team, there is still going to be edited highlights on YouTube, but I am going to be live streaming every single race over on my Twitch channel. There'll be a link down in the description below. Of course, there'll also be showing up graphics on your screen at the moment. Matt212 over on Twitch. I'm going to be live streaming the first race of the new season tomorrow, Friday night at 7 PM UK time. Of course, 22 races with just a month before F1 23 releases, unfortunately, isn't going to be possible. We've got a 16 race championship. However, every single race is going to be a 100% Grand Prix for this final season. So like I said, tomorrow night we're going to be live over on Twitch with a 100% 58 lap Bahrain Grand Prix. We then stay in the Middle East for Saudi Arabia before we head to the land down under and Albert Park. Imola makes up round 4 in our first sprint race of the campaign before we head to Miami. A 100% Monaco Grand Prix is going to be very difficult before we head out to Baku and then Canada, Silverstone, and then our second sprint race in Austria. Belgium and Italy after the summer break before we head through the flyaway season with Japan, the USA, Mexico, and Brazil is going to be our championship decider. 3 sprint race weekends, 100% races right from the get-go. It is going to be a crazy final season. I've tried to pick tracks that both mix, circuits that are quite iconic, quite historic, and also circuits that I think are going to provide the best racing for our final campaign. But anyway, with that news out of the way, go give me a follow on Twitch. Let's get into the driver news. Well, first of all then, where better to start than with our reigning world champions. Audi 212 Motorsport might have had an unpredictable and unreliable season for at least one of their cars, but it was Charles Leclerc that walked away with the crown, and 212 Motorsport taking their second back-to-back Constructors World Championship. You guys had your say, and Charles Leclerc is staying with the team, ready for the final season of My Team. Will he be able to crown himself a 3-time Formula 1 World Champion, or will I be able to try and take a second away from him there? Charles Leclerc is mathematically the most successful driver we've had in the F1 My Team series. Of course, 2 World Championships, the most points scored since the tracking began all the way in the start of Season 1. He has been an absolute beast, and I think, it's only fair for our final season of this career mode that Charles Leclerc stays alongside us and we really give ourselves a big final challenge. Ferrari's driver lineup is changed, ready for the final season, of course, after Daniel Ricciardo announced his retirement from Formula 1 after, to be honest, getting thoroughly beaten by Lando Norris once again. It was Pierre Gasly that took the seat over at Maranello, and honestly, I think this is going to be a driver lineup to really watch out for throughout this entire final season. Lando Norris, he was absolutely on it last year. Brutal consistency right from the get-go, left him with an outside shot of the world title come the end of Season 5, but sadly Ferrari lacked that ultimate pace that he needed to keep up with Charles Leclerc there. Still waiting for that first World Championship is young Lando Norris, but I think if any season is going to be his year, surely Ferrari can come on strong and deliver him a car that he deserves for the one final campaign. McLaren leave their roster exactly the same. Esteban Ocon, of course, coming into the team at the start of Season 5, did a very good job and was able to beat out Zhou Guanyu there. Still questions about the Chinese driver's ability. Of course, did take that 1 win last season, but Ocon, very quickly asserted himself as the dominant number 1 within that team. McLaren haven't quite seen the highs that they did throughout Season 2 and Season 3. Maybe they can return to that for one final campaign. Winter testing pace looked quite good, but will it be strong enough to really challenge for wins once more on a consistent basis? Red Bull are another team then that have not changed up their driver lineup for this final season. 2-time Formula 1 World Champion Valtteri Bottas did have a shaky start to Season 5, but, showed flashes of brilliance still that we've come to expect from the Flying Finn throughout F1 22. Sergio Perez, though, absolutely was still the number 1 within that team. Took that win, of course, early on in the year in Miami. Red Bull just ultimately didn't quite have enough to match the teams in front of them, the Ferraris and your Audis in this sport. Were a good competitive rival to McLaren, but honestly, Mexico really was the final nail in the coffin for them. McLaren taking that one too did make the difference and meant that Red Bull couldn't quite stay with them to the end of the year. However, Data looks good. Signs look promising. Can Red Bull finally get back on top? Alpine then next up, and a new lineup for them as well. Mick Schumacher stays with the team after a very, very good start and end to last season's campaign. A rocky middle part of the year was attributed to the car's lack of performance as well, and also quite a lot of controversy apparently going on with Lance Stroll there. Some questions about his funding being brought into question towards the end of last year means that he will not be on the Alpine roster and has not been able to find a seat for this final season of F1 22. Alpine were left scrambling a little bit, but they were able to pick up young Kiwi Liam Lawson. Of course, after a fantastic Super Formula campaign, he is finally getting that call up to Formula 1. He knows this is a big opportunity and that he has to deliver. Alpine apparently have got quite a quick car as well, but, you know, we'll wait and see whether that is the case as we get into the year. But Lawson and Mick Schumacher, a young, feisty driver lineup that I'm very excited to see how they get on. Next up then is Mercedes, and with the loss of Pierre Gasly to Ferrari, they were left trying to look around for a new driver, and they bumped into young Oscar Piastri there. Of course, had a brilliant campaign with Alfa Tauri last season. Don't ask me why Nicholas Latifi is still on that roster. I will never quite understand it. Quite clearly by his focus rating as well. He's not really interested in sticking around. I don't know whether Mercedes need money. I don't know whether it makes for good Twitter meme material. Either way, Latifi is still at Mercedes. They have made some good progress forward as we head into this final season, but really it still feels like they're going to be fighting with one hand behind their back. However, I'm very, very excited to see just how well Oscar Piastri is going to be able to get on in that car. Next up then is the team that Oscar Piastri has left, and a completely fresh lineup down at Alfa Tauri. Jay Anderuvela and Robert Schwartzman both have Formula 1 experience, but Red Bull are trying to look about future-proofing. You know, Perez and Bottas are both getting older, and Robert Schwartzman and Jay Anderuvela, they believe, could be the talents that they're going to need in that top team in the future there. Of course, the young Indian driver racing with Haas throughout the entirety of last season's campaign did quite well. You know, had a couple of decent results and stood up nicely against Felipe Drugovich. And Robert Schwartzman, of course, just a nightmare down at Alfa Romeo. A team that showed so much potential promise heading into this season could not deliver, so he's trying to look elsewhere. He's got himself out of the Ferrari Academy, and he is hopefully going to be placing his stake at Red Bull in the future. Next up, though, is Williams, and yet another unchanged driver lineup, but honestly, I don't blame them one for 1 second there. Alex Albon has been with the team right since the get-go in this campaign and has often carried them and the car to better results than it really deserves. He has been fantastic throughout the entirety of F1 22, and Juri Vips, probably the star of the rookies heading into last season there. A lot of teams were interested in trying to pick up the Estonian services ready for Season 6, but Williams were the ones that were able to pay the big bucks. Juri Vips will be staying for Williams for one final campaign. Honestly, the pace isn't looking incredible. They might have taken a bit of a step back. It might not be the one final swan song that we were all hoping for, but Williams, I always want to root for them in F1 22, and hopefully we can see some good results to finish off this game. Haas up next then, and probably one of the more disappointing teams in Season 5. We were really hoping that we'd see some big developments from both Haas and Alfa Romeo, which of course we'll talk about in just a moment there. Felipe Drugovich staying with the team once more. He's been there for such a long time now. He's basically Haas's staple driver for some reason. Dan Ticktum, though, is going to be joining him from Alfa Romeo, so that means, yep, Alfa Romeo have got a completely fresh lineup ready for this final season there. The Brazilian going up against the Brit, of course, they battled in Formula 2 in years gone by. Drugovich, of course, able to take that world title, but Dan Ticktum obviously moved over to IndyCar, did some stuff over there for a couple of years, and Formula E, and of course now back in Formula 1 on the full time. Will we see Haas bring one final flash in the pan, or are they heading to the backmarker cars once more? Aston Martin should probably be thanking F1 22 in its weird moments at times, because it completely carried them into P10 overall come the end of last season. They were so far off the pace from the start to the end, and honestly, looking at pre-season performance, it hasn't changed. Kevin Magnussen has stayed with the team. Teo Porcher has moved on to greener pastures, but he is joined by young Brazilian Enzo Fittipaldi, who comes into this incredibly highly rated there, of course. Related and in the family of Emerson. Of course, his older brother Pietro has already raced in Formula 1 a couple of times with the Haas team back at the end of 2020. But Enzo Fittipaldi, I feel, could be one to watch, and Kevin Magnussen might find himself under a lot of pressure. Don't expect a lot from Aston Martin, though. They're still a long way off the rear of the field as we head into this final year. Alfa Romeo, though, are our final team as we head into Season 6, and honestly, easily the biggest disappointment from Season 5 there. They came into the campaign with the 4th/5th fastest car. Honestly thought they could be threatening for, pole positions, podiums, race victories potentially, if things went their way. And it was an absolute disaster. Mechanical failures plagued them throughout the entire campaign, and with Aston Martin getting some lucky big points late on, Alfa Romeo, with the 6th or 7th fastest car by the end, finished last and 11th place overall there. Teo Porcher, though, has finally made it to the team that we've all expected him to be at for so long, and he's joined by our second rookie in Richard Verschoor. Interested to see how the Dutchman is going to get on. I'm inclined, to be honest, to see where Alfa Romeo see in that young man. But Teo Porcher in Alfa Romeo, I think, is something that we've always wanted to see. I just hope that they can finally deliver. Once again, the pre-season pace looks quite good, but will it all just fall flat once more for Alfa? Well, there we go then, ladies and gentlemen, the rundown of our Season 6 My Team Career Mode, the last dance of F1 22. 16 100% races. Like I said in the intro, go follow me on Twitch if you want to see the races live as well. It's going to be very good fun, and I'm so excited for it. Like I said, Bahrain round 1 of the year will be going live tomorrow night, 7 PM BST over there, and the race highlights should be out on Sunday before the real-life Miami Grand Prix. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back very soon for the finale of F1 22. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.